Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard. I went from being a lawyer and partner at one of the largest firms in America to becoming an online personality and successful entrepreneur. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your health and personal life. So, how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you chase joy while achieving success? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Hello, welcome back. I'm Heather Hubbard, your host for Hustle and Flow. And the good thing about the original Hustle and Flow was that it was audio only. So I could look like this: hair up, wild, no makeup, a little bit of makeup. I've started putting on my makeup. No lighting. I could be looking off into space as opposed to the camera. Now that I'm doing video, I feel like I have to have good lighting, good hair, and good makeup. So if you'll give me a moment, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. That's better. Um, I am wearing my curly hair today, though, which I normally do not do. I normally blow it out for a few reasons. One is when my hair is curly, it is wild. And I'm totally cool with wild. It's just frustrating when I cannot get it to do what I want it to do because it has a mind of its own and it's never the same. So you really don't know what you're going to get. My curly haired girls totally know what I'm talking about. Um, my sister has beautifully curly hair and doesn't have to do much with it. My curly hair is weird in that it's not going to naturally do something. I have to put a lot of curl cream in it, mousse in it, and I have to diffuse it. I might need to use a wand or a curling iron, and it's only going to last like a day, 2 days max. Whereas with my blowout, and if you're like, what is this what this episode is about? Are we really talking about hair? No, but my hair kind of is my thing, and a lot of people compliment on me on my hair and ask me questions about my hair. So I don't know. We're just chatting about my hair for a moment. Um, when I do a blowout, because I have like thick, coarse hair, where it is a little curly, it actually will hold really, really well. In fact, it will hold for a week. So if I do a blowout, a good blowout, I can make that last a whole week. I mean, I use dry shampoo, but so it's actually lower maintenance to do that. The blowout itself is time consuming and just complete pain in the ass, but it lasts, you know? And for the most part, I can get it to do what I want it to do for the most part. Um, so that's why I generally don't rock the curly hair too much. Um, would you like to talk about the actual content of this podcast? Yeah, me too. Me too. So today we are going to talk about simple courage. If you used to follow me, if you're not a new follower, you know that when I ended Hustle and Flow, the final episode in what was that, June of 2020, it was so that I could shift my focus to simple courage. And I totally rolled that out in 2021. We started working on it in fall of 2020, rolled that out in 2021, 2022, and then I went on my sabbatical and I kind of put that to bed. And I thought it would be worth, regardless of whether you were familiar with that history or not, it would be worth actually doing a case study with that business concept and how it worked. In my mind, it was a failure. And I feel like we often don't talk about failures, and it's one of the reasons why we actually don't put things out in the world. We don't want there to be this like public witnessing of us failing. And I just think it's really important that we talk about these things. Um, because I think it holds so many of us back. It definitely does not feel good, but it's not the end of the world. And yeah, so I thought I would talk about the whole thing, how it came about, what we did, what worked, what didn't work, um, whether or not I'll ever bring it back, as well as, just my thoughts on it in general. So, yeah, let's dig in. All right. So, Simple Courage started as a post it note. Again, if you've been following me for any time at all, you know this. And I probably still have, I know I still have that post it note. I'll put it on the YouTube video so that you guys can see it. Um, I was journaling one day, and I am big into visualizations and journaling and dreaming. That's kind of like where my ideas come from in that space, and which takes time. And so I dedicate time to that. And I just had this, it came to me, it was this like very clear idea of simple courage. And I had never heard that phrase before. And it was just kind of like this electric, like a lightning bolt. And so I ran, grabbed a post it note that just happened to be on my desk. And I wrote down simple courage because I didn't want to forget it. You got to capture these ideas. And I didn't just want it in my journal where sometimes things get lost. You never find them again. I wanted to get it down. And so I got it down. And it just felt like the most brilliant concept that made complete sense to me that I thought could help a lot of people. And I kept playing around with it myself just to help me. And so it was a post-it note on my desk in front of me for years. Years. And I always assumed it would be a book. Um, but like many things in life, we get super, super busy and super distracted, making other things a priority. Anything that feels scary or hard, um, it's easier to let it be a post it note on the wall than to actually do the thing. Because we might find that if we do the thing, we can't do it well, we're not good at it, it'll be a failure. And so it's just like it feels too big, it feels too scary. So we just put that post it note on the wall to remind us each and every day that if we wanted to pursue that, we could. And so, and one day we will, right? One day we will. I know so many of you who also have like a book or a talk or something on your heart and your mind that you've had for years and you've just never actually created it. You know what I'm talking about. So that was there. And then I was at a speaker training trying to improve my workshops and um, doing that workshop or doing that speaker. It was kind of a workshop, but doing that training, I realized that I didn't actually want to be working on the workshops because they just felt so, I don't want to say mechanical, but I can get bored. I have the kind of personality where I'm always wanting to develop and create and do new things, which is part of why like the podcast is great for me because I get to be in a place of constantly creating new things. And um, I really, really wanted to talk about simple courage, but I always thought it was too big. I wasn't sure I could do it justice, and I wasn't sure that my people were interested in hearing that story or that message. And so I had never really given myself permission, but I did give myself permission to work on that keynote. And that was in addition to all of the business that I was already doing. And this would have been in 2019, I believe. And so as I was working on that, I did develop the keynote and it was wonderful and I loved it. And the audiences that heard it loved it. And I continued to improve it. And then we went into COVID and everything started shutting down. And I just thought there was so much fear that I was witnessing and in a million different ways. right? Like at that time, not, and I'm not just talking about the fear related to getting sick, although that was, that was a real thing, but just the fear around money. There was so much fear around money. There was fear around what can I do during this time? Fear of losing clients, losing jobs, fear of relationships, fear of just being in the house, things being different. Because, like my hair, we like things to be in control. We like for w- a lot of us, just we like our routines, and all of that was getting. It was just totally shaking everything up. And so we were all in this place of being really uncomfortable. And that's a lot of what Simple Courage is about. It's about how do you take the tiny steps of being uncomfortable for the things that truly matter most to you, as opposed to constantly being uncomfortable in order to like just make yourself fit into society or the roles that you typically play. And so I thought now is the perfect time to actually start talking about courage and being uncomfortable and realigning, your decisions and the way you go about life, just because we, in some ways, had this, clean slate. And so I announced in the podcast, the final episode, I think it was, like I said, May or June of 2020, that I was going to shift to Simple Courage. Now, if you listened to episode 169, so I think 168 was the final episode in 2020, and then 169 was the reboot that just came out, you know, last month. And so 3 years had passed. And if you listen to 169, you know that I was suffering from an adrenal tumor. But at that time, we did not know I was suffering from the adrenal tumor. It took a year after that for it to get diagnosed, but there were symptoms. And so I was probably already suffering from it. So there's also kind of the question of, was it just my desire and passion, which 100% was there, or, or probably, was there something there related to that tumor, which was creating a lot of stress, anxiety, anger, and because I had nonstop cortisol and adrenaline. And so that's kind of how that can manifest itself. And so it was just this, yeah, like, was it a bit of a tantrum? I don't know. I don't know. But I loved Simple Courage. And so from there, I just started dreaming really, really big. I hired a copywriter to help me work on the copy, to help kind of identify what would the programs be. Shout out to Kira Hugg. She is an amazing copywriter. And it was such a blast working with her. We started to do some focus groups. We shared some of the keynotes. We shared some of the concepts, just and did surveys to get a feel for what did people want to hear. For me, Simple Courage has always been more about the message than the product or the service. And that's what I always said from the very beginning. I actually don't care what the product or service is, because it's so much bigger than that. It's more about a message and a movement. I always saw it as something um, like if you think of like Chicken Soup for the Soul, there were a million different books. And the original creators, I think, they still had ownership and still had oversight, but there were a million different authors who actually contributed to those stories and wrote those books. And I always saw it more like that. I could see Simple Courage for teenagers. I could see Simple Courage for teachers. I mean, to me, there were just 100 different ways that you could go about it, where you're sharing the actual story. So it's the tools and the framework and the message, but you're doing it within the context of all of these different groups, of which I am not an expert. And so for me, Simple Courage was never about me. It was really about this message. And so I spent a ton of time doing the research and development and really trying to work on it. I also wanted it to be more accessible. So if you ever did any business development, marketing, sales workshops with me, um, you're familiar with some of the branding exercises that we used to do. And I was my primary was always prestige. I've always been exclusive. I've been high end. I've been expensive. Kind of best in class, best of the best. And that did not work with my vision for Simple Courage because I thought it was something that was really more about volume and less about this exclusive experience. So having to craft that. Um, Ultimately, we ended up doing some betas around what we called Simple Courage circles. So those were small groups. We had created a teaching format, and because we thought, okay, this would be a good way to actually teach the material and have them do the work that was going to help them be more courageous in their lives. And those circles were amazing. They were beautiful. I mean, I didn't make money because they were really cheap. Um, but that's what you got to do when you're testing. We just talked about that not too long ago in the in episode. What would that have been? I think that was 170. It was break even and loss leader pricing. And so sometimes, you're going to do that. They were amazing. The program was amazing. The people who were in it were amazing, and so we had a great time, great results. But I knew that that was not really how we were going to always lead that because that it was dependent on me or someone else leading it. And that that program, that model was going to, if you can only help, let's say 8 to 10 people in a circle, you have to charge more money. You have to have a lot more facilitators. And so that didn't seem like a workable model for what I was actually trying to achieve. So we came up with the concept of a membership program. And in the membership program, there was a podcast, a private podcast. So it was like on Apple or whatever else, but it was a private feed. And that was a weekly podcast. Each month, we had a different theme to apply the Simple Courage concepts, so that you'd have lots of different areas in your life to practice. Um, and we had a different guest each month. We had a portal that had a lot of different materials. Um, I hired so many people during that time to really, dial it in, to help as many people as possible, to help them go through the process, because I hadn't really done anything like that before at that level where I was trying to help so many different people. And so, um, let's say we had the weekly circles where you could come in. We had a monthly workshop with the guest where it was like you were actually going through the workshop. We had a DJ. We wanted it to be light and upbeat and fun because it can feel like a heavy topic. And we put so much work into it. So much work into it. And I am so proud of what we came up with. I really think the content was amazing. And I think what people got, like the value was amazing. And it did not work. It did not work. Um, we had that priced at $297 a month, although the early bird entry was $97 a month or $997 a year. So again, we really had to have volume for that to be profitable. And we didn't get the volume. Um, that was probably the cheapest thing I've ever offered, but my people were not interested in that offer. Um, and at that early point, like they were getting more of me than you probably would otherwise, but it wasn't packaged in a way that they were interested in. And it was interesting because I was actually talking to a coach from Chase. They're a bank, but they also have business coaching. Um, and I was actually working with someone in New York, And um, she said, the thing is, Heather, 297 or even 97 is still a really, really expensive price point for the volume and the people that you're looking for and wanting and needing. She said, and the people that you attract want something very different for a 297 price point. And frankly, what they really want is like the $10 and $20,000 price points from you. They want the exclusivity. They don't want other people to be in the room. And they want to talk about it in a different way. And so I still tried to prove her wrong. If you all know me, like you tell me I can't do something, I'm like, I'll go prove you wrong. But we weren't able to do it. I was sick the entire time. I was not mentally, my brain was not working as well as it used to, or as it is now. I certainly emotionally was not okay. And so at some point we just had to say, and this was when in like 169 in that episode when the doctor was like, can you just go on a sabbatical? And I was like, absolutely not. I cannot. I have this concept. It is not working. It is failing. Like I have to double down. I have to pivot. I have to figure out what will work. And she was like, but this isn't working for your body. And so it was definitely creating a ton of stress on my health, right? So the health was creating stress for the business, and the business was creating stress for the health. It was just this circle that would not end. And so we had to break that. And so I just focused on health for a year. And so coming back, it was like, well, are you going to do simple courage again? And I have to say, I was not excited or passionate about it. I was heartbroken. I mean, truly, I was heartbroken. And I wasn't sure how much more money was going to be needed. I wasn't sure if I could pull it off. And so, the interesting part of this is I do think that it is still a super valuable and super important message that really needs to be out in the world on a massive scale. And I think the only way to truly do that or to accomplish the vision that I had is to have major backing. So a major private funding with a team around it. It simple courage was never about me, and it was really hard for me to shift that. Um, like it truly needed an entrepreneurial team around it. Um, I truly believe that with that particular idea, I was a bit of the personality or face behind it, but I was really more the idea and truly being the CEO and the overseeing all of it was the most important part. And I couldn't figure out a way to get myself out of the trenches or getting it built up because my experience is being an online entrepreneur, my experience is law, my experience is like being a service provider. I did not have the experience of what a true startup looked like. And I'm not dissing service providers, I'm not dissing online businesses, but that looks very, very, very different than a startup business. Um, they're just worlds apart. They're run differently. And I didn't have that experience. I didn't have the mentors. I didn't, that I have figured out so many things in my life that I didn't know before, but I couldn't figure that one out. And was it because of the illness? I don't know. I have no idea, but I didn't figure that out. And I'll be honest, I've always had, failed projects or things that didn't quite work out, but never at this scale. And I generally succeed at everything I do, which may sound really obnoxious, but it's true. I think part of it is I was just born with certain talents, but also I'm very determined, I'm very disciplined, and I have a lot of tenacity. And so I can generally figure things out. And I couldn't figure that one out. And it was a huge blow. Again, I was sick, so I was already an emotional wreck. I already had the nonstop adrenaline, so that may have added to um, me being emotional around it. But I also think it's perfectly normal that if you put something out in the world that meant so much to you and you thought you could do it and then you weren't able to pull it off, it can create a lot of emotions. And so grieving that loss and coming back from that can be a really, really big thing. And I think at the core we know that, which is why so many people are afraid to put themselves out there. I don't regret doing Simple Courage because I would still be wondering, what if? What if? I always felt like Simple Courage was a gift. I didn't ever feel like it was something that I came up with. I felt like I channeled that, like it was divine. And that was part of it. I felt like I was given that to share with the world, and I could not make it happen. And that was the hardest part for me. I felt like I did not or could not execute um, on a gift given to me, and that was hard. It was really, really hard. It was rough. It's a hard pill to swallow. I still think it has so much potential. I still think it's a great idea. It's a great concept. And I just didn't have the wherewithal at the time. I still own all of the IP. I still own Simple Courage, the trademark. Will it ever come back? I don't know. Um, never say never, but if it does, it truly will be in the concept that I am the CEO, I am doing oversight, but an entire team is actually executing and putting it forward, because I think the more I'm involved, it's just really confusing. And in that, like, people are still conflating it with Heather Joy Hubbard, the brand, and it's not Heather Joy Hubbard. So, yeah. So that's what happened. Let me look at my notes. Let me see if I have anything else that I want to add on Simple Courage, the case study. But yeah, when I was coming back, I um I really tapped back into my creativity. I was trying to find joy again. And so I'm doing so many things unrelated to the business. I used to just be a workaholic. And so I'm doing acting and singing and songwriting and painting and stand up comedy and just so many things that bring me joy. This podcast has always brought me joy. I'm so excited to be back doing this. The retreats have always just brought me so much joy, which is why I'm doing them again. And the other stuff, I enjoy it, but on the joy meter, it's like not up there at the top. So I'm still exploring and having fun and doing things. Um, but I know a lot of you are entrepreneurs, or you're just interested and curious. So I wanted to kind of give you all that case study. Um, okay. I'm just looking at my notes real quick. And I don't know if you can tell, but like even sharing this story, it make like, not that it's nerve-wracking. Um, I don't even think embarrassing. Um, but it still brings up a lot of really um, strong emotions for me, because clearly I have not fully grieved it. And some things, like, it just takes a long, long time. Um, but that's why I'm a little bit like off my game. I'm like, let me look at my notes. Um, and if you have any questions, I've always tried to be super transparent. I think it's important for us to all learn from each other. So feel free to leave a comment below the video on YouTube. I will respond. The first few weeks I didn't even realize there were comments. I wasn't getting the notifications, and then I saw them and I responded. Hopefully you've seen them. And then the last two episodes, the comments for some reason were turned off for a little bit. We've got those back on. So YouTube is new for me. So definitely it's a little bit of a learning curve, but I love it when you all comment, ask questions. I definitely want to engage in dialogue with you there. Um, yep, yep, yep. Yeah. So that's it. That's it. Um, Speaking of YouTube, if you are following along, we are giving away a free Hustle and Flow t-shirt each and every week to one lucky YouTube subscriber. So, number one, make sure that you are subscribing on YouTube. And then two, there is a posts section on the channel. And on that, there is a link to fill out a form so that if you win, we can actually contact you. All right. So that is it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that that was helpful. And again, feel free to leave comments, ask questions, and I will answer to the best of my ability. Have a great week. Happy holidays, and I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, give the episode a like and leave a comment below so we can keep the conversation going. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future episode or announcement. Listening on Apple, Spotify, or another podcast app, you can watch the video and join in the after-show conversation by visiting hustleandflowpodcast.com.